Welcome to the Trust Factor Radio, bringing you interviews and insights to unlock the power of the subconscious mind to create authority, credibility, and trust. With your host, the Authority Architect and best-selling author, Neil Howe.
Hello, welcome to the show. This is your host, Neil Howe, and today my guest is Hawk Mikado. He is the funnel gamer, and he is the leading expert in funnels, lead generations, and live launches. He has helped 11,973 plus entrepreneurs learn how to add 6+ figures to their business, has built 12 plus 7 and 8 figure funnels, and built over 7 profitable businesses in the multi 6 and 7 figures. He is an entrepreneur, an adventurer, and a family man. He has a very giving heart, dedicating his life to helping industry leaders change the world. Hawk Mikado, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, this is the second time you've been on. We had a great chat last time, and you've been up to some new ventures now. So give us a little bit of information about what you've been doing over the last 6 months or so.
Yeah, absolutely. So everything that we did in that program, the program is amazing. And one of the main things that we discovered is that everybody needs more leads. And we looked at all the companies that we worked with, whether they were Fortune 500 companies like Microsoft, Lenovo, a bunch of other amazing big tech companies, or whether they were just starting out in business and somebody, just trying to figure out the very first thing they needed to do to start to grow their business and start to generate leads online. And this seems to be one of the most elusive things on the planet. And yet I am probably one of the best people who generates leads and turns those leads into sales calls and turns those sales calls into paying clients. And so we've been taking all those systems, making it so that any entrepreneur, any business owner can come in, implement this process, build a lead flow engine, and start generating leads immediately in their business, start taking those leads, turning them into sales calls immediately, or getting them to a webinar or to a course, whatever their goal is. And ultimately growing their business online.
So you focus mainly on online businesses or offline businesses?
We've helped all sorts of businesses. Most of the clients that are coming to us are either just trying to figure out how to get their business online, or they've attempted it in the past and they're really they hadn't had success for whatever reason. It didn't really matter whether it was technology or copy or whatever. And we support them through our process. We built an AI that gives them the ability to go through this and have a lead funnel built, a lead magnet built, an epic follow-up series built, and some traffic getting content. And rather than taking 5 to 10 days, like most people believe it takes, we can get it done in 2 to 4 hours.
Wow, that's amazing. So
Yes.
take a step back a minute, and for a lot of people out there, a lot of business owners or coaches or high ticket sales, some of them think that they need a website with all their information on it, with all these different pages, talking about themselves and what they do. What's different between that kind of website and a funnel that gets leads?
Absolutely. So a website is designed to provide credibility to someone who already knows who you are and are really trying to determine if you're the right fit. I would call them a hot audience, right? That's hot traffic. They're really just trying to figure out if you're really credible at that point. Now, mind you, I've sold 6 and 7 figure deals without a website. A friend of mine sells $100,000 mastermind with a Google document, like a Google Doc.
Wow.
Just a sales letter, completely text, no website, nothing. Somebody's interested in working with him, he sends them a Google Doc. He has an opt-in, this sends him a Google Doc. Like, it's that simple. It doesn't require all the complexities that we're all lied about. Like, people tell you need a website. People tell you need a super complex funnel that will, ultimately put them through a 3-part video series followed up by a training, and each video series needs to have a workbook that's 500,000 pages long. And those work. They really do. but they aren't effective for a business that's trying to get their business online. The last one that we did with a video series and all that cost us nearly 6 figures. We did not make 6 figures back from it immediately. Like it takes time, and most businesses don't have the time to do that. They don't have the resources to do it. And the people who are ultimately teaching these strategies and tactics are doing it because it works for them, but they're selling it to an audience that isn't ready to get to that point. And I want to take out all of the complexities and make it so that all you got to do is come in, answer a bunch of questions, and then our AI will do the rest for you. It'll build the lead magnet for you. It'll write the copy for it. It'll design it. It'll go through and create the funnel, connect it all up, write the email series and follow-up series that goes into it, put all those pieces together, and then produce some content that you can post on social media, on your blog, send out to your email list, whatever the case is, so you can drive traffic immediately. And rather than complicating everything, simply making it so that somebody's coming in to learn about what you do in a way that helps them understand the problem, how you solve it, and how your solution is ultimately the best fit for what they need. And if you can show them how to do that in this process, you'll see a much, much higher take rate, rather than trying to figure out, okay, like I'm going to drive Facebook ads, which is usually where people go, they go, hey, online marketing doesn't work because my Facebook ads didn't work or wasn't able to get the right traffic. Yet the conversation they're having is a hot traffic conversation. People who would have been going to their website with people who've never heard of them. They don't even know that they have the problem yet in some cases, right? They're cold or maybe even just warm traffic that need to know what's the problem, what are the possible solutions, and how can you best help me solve my problem with your solution.
Well, I must admit, trying to put a funnel together was a daunting task for me. There seems to be so many different parts of it, and I struggled to fill out all those parts without knowing exactly how to write copy and what to put in what place, and then trying to design it all. For me, I'm not technical at all, so it was a big stumbling block. If you can kind of walk us through, just what that 2 to 4 hour process looks like and how it all fits into that funnel.
Absolutely. So the core component is the actual content of the lead magnet. Once you have the content for the thing that you're about to build the funnel for, the funnel can ultimately write itself. You don't need to.
And is that based on just tried and tested principles that Is it AI copywriting, or does somebody have to go in and write that copy for you?
Yeah. So the as someone goes through this process, now let's say you're going through this process, you go and you'll answer a series of questions. Those questions are going to get to know your business, get to know some stories about your business, or your clients or industry examples. And then it's going to take all of that and it's going to input it into the lead magnet. From there, it will then write the landing page that will ultimately attract your the people who are interested in that lead magnet, building it utilizing a very, very well-proven, tested with hundreds of thousands of dollars of cold traffic, and we get some insane results with it. Cold traffic, we're generally getting like 60% of leads. So that means if you drive 1,000 clicks, you get 600 leads in your funnel. And out of the 600 people who go into the funnel, that anywhere from 5 to 10% of those will take the next action. So if you want them to schedule a call, that would be anywhere from 30 to 60 people you would get booked on your calendar as a result. If you want to get them to a webinar, that would be actually webinars tend to convert higher just because it's not direct to a sales call. Paid product though, same thing. You can get the same kind of uptake. You get about 5 to 10% of people who end up buying the paid product that you're offering at the end of the lead magnet.
Very nice. So what's so that's the first page is the lead magnet. What happens from there? What's the process after that?
Yeah. So then from there, the system builds out some emails, text messages, task lists, so that all you have to do is literally go in, you check off some boxes saying, hey, yeah, okay, I'm going to go do this thing. I'm going to go find them on Facebook and send them a message there, or I'm going to, send them a personalized message or whatever the case is. From there, you actually get on the phone and call people, or you have an appointment set, or get on the phone and call people, say book them into a sales call, assuming you have a high ticket offer. Obviously, if you don't have a high ticket offer, one of the most effective ways to get people onto a webinar is to also call them and say, hey, I noticed that you downloaded my thing. Would you be interested in attending this training? Normally we charge $97 for it, but we'd like to gift it to you for free since you signed up for a list. From there, they're on the webinar, and you'll get a much higher show rate on that webinar. We end up getting usually 60 to 80% of people showing up to our webinars, where the industry standard is 20 to 30.
Right. That's, that's double or more. And I'm sure your results of selling from the webinar are double or more as well.
Yeah, you got a much more personalized touch in place, and it allows somebody to feel like they're actually being served and supported versus ultimately just buying another course, buying another product that may or may not be the thing that they need.
So is this whole process that you work through a done for you thing, or is it something that you just have to sit down and do yourself and just fill out all the information and then it magically appears, or is there support to help you go through that whole process?
Absolutely. So we have our legendary Lead Flow Masterclass, which we host basically once a quarter. Plus you can go through the recordings of that and go through that process on your own. If somebody really needs it, we also provide coaching as an additional option for someone to say, hey, you know what? I just want to sit down with the coach for a couple hours. They'll walk me through this process and we'll get it taken care of. From there, once it comes to us, once the process, once the person has worked through the AI, our copy team, our design team, and our ads team, and our tech team go through the process of writing the copy or rewriting the copy to make it sound and flow and ultimately convert better. Design it so that it is in brand with the company that we're building it for. Launch ads so that we can actually start to drive traffic whenever they're ready. And that can happen immediately, or that can happen 3 or 6 months from then, whatever the case may be. And then ultimately we do all of the tech side of things. One of the biggest things that I found over the years, talking to thousands and thousands of people, the biggest thing from a funnel building perspective, as you said earlier, is the technology. Building the funnel, getting it to integrate. Like I've seen countless situations where somebody would build a funnel and they weren't actually capturing the leads because they set the button to go to the next page instead of to capture the information. We had actually one of the people we helped literally had that problem. We came in, we tweaked the funnel, we optimized it, we fixed it up. And within a couple months, they made 7 figures because they had the right things in place. And that was literally the technology was the only thing they didn't have a handle on. And so we ultimately want to make sure that people have what they need to be successful with this. So we decided that technology is that's our sweet spot. That's what we focus on, is putting the marketing systems together and then putting all the technology to make sure it works and flows and functions exactly like it's supposed to. That way, the business owner who's coming in, or the entrepreneur or the marketer who's coming in to do this stuff doesn't have to deal with the technology ever again.
Now, technology is a scary thing, especially for me, and to have that all taken care of is, a blessing, certainly. The other thing that I think many business owners struggle with is copywriting. I think they'd be able to talk about their business all day in a conversation like this, telling somebody what they do. But when it comes to just sitting down and actually writing sales copy to try and sell something, it's a completely different thinking. Tell me how you're able to kind of work through that and how your copywriters just make everything run smoothly.
Absolutely. So my wife, Kate Mikado, and her copy hacking process, we went through this with her and we're like, hey, how do we go and create a way for our clients to ultimately get the best results with these without them knowing or needing to be a copywriter. And so we rebuilt this entire system 5 times, and both Kate and Stefan on my team, as we're all building, we're like going through this over and over and over again. We got to perfect it, or nearly perfect it, right? Perfection is a journey, but we were able to take the process that we had used on hundreds of these lead flow engines that we had built for clients as like on a private level. And we were able to take that process that we went through on the phone with them and ultimately make it so that the AI asks the questions. Just like if you were asking or talking to a copywriter, they're going to ask you to go through this process. And so we made it as simple as possible using kind of like a fill in the blank style prompt where you go and you answer the question as if you're filling in a blank. From there, it takes that and then it will write it and build it out into the funnel. It then takes that, puts it into the lead magnet. It takes it, writes some ads and writes some copy that you can use to start to generate some traffic. It takes it, it creates an epic follow-up series of emails, text messages, tasks, and call queue, and goes through this process to make it so that it's a seamless process from start to finish. Right? You go in, you answer the questions as if you were speaking to a copywriter, and rather than having to deal with that process and having to pay for ultimately what you would have to pay to hire a copywriter to do this, we can do it at a fraction of the price because we've built the AI to do it for us.
Right. You certainly get a lot of information in the right place, but once it's kind of all in the right place, is there any finessing that you have to do or editing just to make it really kind of sound, like a person wrote it rather than an AI wrote it?
So that as long as you fill in the blanks, it's very natural. If you don't fill in the blanks, if you don't write it as like a fill in the blank, you use a different prompt. Sometimes you got to go back in and tweak a little thing here, tweak a little thing there, but ultimately it's a very, very minor change that needs to happen. And our tech team and our copy team will obviously clean all of it up for the clients who have us do that for them.
Great, because that's something that has held me back. I've looked at some AI software before for writing things, and it all sounds great when I'm putting it in the boxes, but it comes out not sounding great. So to have somebody actually look at that and fix it all would be another relief off of me, that's for sure. So tell me about some of the results that you've had with this talk. What kind of businesses have you been working with, and what kind of results have they had? I know you do some high ticket stuff and coaching, but have you done any in the local business area as well?
Yeah, so most of our clients are coaches, speakers, experts. We've also worked with some chiropractors. We've worked with a few doctors. We've worked with restaurants as well. The process, though, is ultimately meant to get them to the thing that you really want them to get to. So in order for them to move the needle, right? Let's say, especially on a local business that provides a service, right? Providing some type of education, helping get them emotionally connected to the content, giving them an action item that actually produces results immediately, which builds trust immediately and gets them to then move to the next step is key. So in this process, one of the clients that we just built one of these for is participating in a giveaway, and she has generated 64 leads so far. Out of 64 leads, 37 of them consumed the entire thing and took the step to get to the sales page of or get to the video series, which is what she did. And out of those, 8 of them ended up completing the video series. And she's got name, email, and phone number for all of these people, plus a whole follow-up series and a whole follow-up system put in place so that she ultimately doesn't need to try to figure out who to talk to, when to talk to them, how to talk to them, because we know exactly what they did, when they did it, and we can say, hey, you've accomplished this. Now here's the next step for you. And so that's just one. Another client we had utilizes sales calls to close deals, to bring people into his mastermind. And he was paying about $1,200 per booked appointment prior to the system. When we first implemented it, we went straight to a sales call. We dropped it from $1,200 down to $200. So saved him about $1,000 right away. From that, he was getting too many calls. So he's like, hey, let's put something in front of it. So we ended up putting his webinar in front of it and do a couple other things with retargeting on ads. And he's sitting right around $600 per a call now. And he's super happy with that. So, just figuring out what's the KPI, how do we stay within that so that we can get the best results. We had another client who went through this process, and that we actually have a longer form version of this as well, which is what this ultimately was designed from. The longer form version is like 23-page report, where this is like a 1 to 2 page report in terms of content length. And we were able to get people to go through that, consume the entire thing. And after that, about 9% of them book a sales call to discuss joining a $25,000 program, which they're fully aware of what it is and are really just at that point getting on a call to buy.
Yeah.
For somebody like a local business, I don't have any specific case studies that I can share, but like a chiropractor would go through and share tips on how to ultimately visit a chiropractor less. We did this in real estate where we did one for investors on how to sell your house without a real estate agent. So people who wanted cash buyers, who ultimately are trying to get their house sold fast. We did another one for real estate agents on how to make your house sell for the top dollar. And these are pre-designed ones that we offer for the real estate niche as well, that are designed to get people from cold traffic to consume the content and then ultimately book that sales call and have the conversation of like, hey, yeah, I want to sell my house, right? So ultimately, you need to talk to the thing that they're having a problem with today, right? If you're an agent or you're an investor in real estate trying to sell or trying to find people who are motivated to sell, whether they're, let's say they're going into foreclosure or they're in pre-foreclosure, put a report in front of them that's how to get out of foreclosure. And you share 3 or 5 or 10 different things in this process that you can then utilize as hey, here's how you would do it. Here's the different strategies or different tactics that you can use to avoid your foreclosure. So it's just understanding your audience, understanding who you're speaking to and what stage of the buying process they're in. Are they cold traffic and don't even know they have a problem? Are they warm traffic and understand that they have a problem but don't really know what the solutions are? Are they hot traffic and know the problem, know the solution, and are really just trying to find out if you're a fit for them? Or are they coming from a referral source or from your own list and they're raving fans already and they're ultimately going to invest today, which means you don't need anywhere near as much content or anywhere near as much push to get them to make that next step.
Yeah, explain to me how important that education and that content is, because a lot of people that just have websites, they might have a little bit of information on their website, but the person that goes there is probably not going to read it all. But you have a great follow-up system to where you're pushing new information to the email all the time. How important is that in the sales process and getting them to take the action that you want them to take?
Absolutely. So the most important thing is getting them emotionally connected to you and to your service and to the problem that they have and to the solution that can solve their problem. That only comes about by doing one thing, telling a story. Mm-hmm. I've never found a website that tells a story.
No.
Websites are dry. They're informational. They're, again, not designed to get people emotionally connected. And it's designed to get somebody who's trying to look for a logical reason to not buy and give them, hey, here's all my testimonials. Here's some blog articles that, prove that I'm not an idiot and I know what I'm talking about. Here's a case study from a client or a couple of clients. And those are things that you can send and you can do without a website. A website is really just a centralized location for somebody to be able to find that kind of information about you. But realistically, you don't need a website, especially if your funnel does that job for you, gets them emotionally connected, shares your testimonials, gives them the case studies, gives them all of the different components, right? You're educating them, you're supporting them, you're providing them value right up front, and ultimately never giving them the what, or sorry, never giving them the how, just giving them the what. Right? So telling them, hey, here's what you need to do. You want to learn how to do that? Well, that's what I'm going to offer you. Here's the next step. Here's my coaching call, or here's my sales training, or here's my training that I will ultimately sell you on your webinar, or here's a course that you can invest in that $7 or $97 or something low ticket that will drive that traffic. And depending on whether you're trying to drive low traffic, mid traffic, or high ticket, low ticket, mid ticket, high ticket, would depend on what the call to action at the end is. But the content itself is the same. So the client who had the $1,200 cost per appointment, the very first offer we put was to go buy his book. And we weren't getting a ton of people. It wasn't lowering his cost for conversion. And so we're like, hey, well, why don't we just go straight to a call? Same exact content. The only thing we changed was the call to action at the end. Because ultimately the book, his course, his webinar, and his one-on-one call all do the exact same thing. There's no real difference other than the platform or the format in which they're consuming that content. Right. So we created one for his book. We have one for the webinar. We have one direct to call. And the content itself above it is exactly the same.
Yeah, right. So it all depends, like the different media that you can use depends on where the customer is coming from and what they're thinking. Because a lot of people might be thinking, yeah, the book's great, but I'm never going to read the book, but hey, I'll jump on a call.
Exactly. Yep.
So talk to me about the traffic. You mentioned cold traffic, warm traffic, hot and raving, which is 4 different kinds. Where do you get all this traffic, and what do you send at what point into the funnel?
Beautiful. We go really in depth in this in the legendary Lead Flow Masterclass. But there's the 4 temperatures and then the 4 types of traffic. So you have online and paid, online and free, offline and paid, offline and free. And then inside of each of those, you have the different temperatures. And each platform can have, you can get warm traffic, cold traffic, and hot traffic, cold, warm, hot, and raving, all from Facebook. But some of those are going to be from paid. Right? You're more likely to get cold traffic from paid Facebook ads versus from a group where you'll get warmer traffic or even hot traffic. And if it's a niche group, or it's like an internal mastermind group, you'll have that raving fan traffic, right? So where you get the traffic from is there's literally tens of thousands of places you can drive traffic from. You can get people from all around the world for pretty much anything you need. You can find forums. You can do blogs. You can do guest blog articles. You can get interviewed in places. You can attend events, you can sponsor events, you can do just about anything. It's just knowing who's going to actually be seeing the content, or who's actually going to be, right? If you go to an event, you go to a trade show, for instance, where there's all sorts of different vendors from one end of the spectrum to the other, and it's just kind of an open forum, it's completely cold traffic. Your hook has to be in such a way that attracts people in based on the problem that they're having, that they don't even know they have yet. Oh, I can't believe you understand that I had this problem. I didn't know I had a problem. I knew that I had the symptoms of the problem. I knew that I was having this challenge, but I didn't even know that there was a solution or a possible solution out there. It never crossed my mind. Whereas if you speak at a mastermind group and everybody in the room is making $100,000 and they all have a very specific, type of business, they're all in coaching or whatnot, you can go in and sell one thing knowing that they have the exact same problems. They need a specific solution. And it's like, hey, you guys know you need this because you know you all have this problem. And here's ultimately how you'll resolve that problem. And you can have a hot traffic offer right in front of them. And again, the offer for both the cold and the hot is exactly the same. It's just how you're having that conversation. Are you speaking to somebody in a way that they understand you, or are you speaking to them in a way that they're completely confused? I was looking on, I love scrolling through Facebook and looking at the ads. I don't actually look at people's posts as much as I look at ads. Like I'll scroll for ads specifically. It's just my Zen zone. And I saw this ad from this company, and the CMO was doing a webinar and was using all these acronyms. And I'm really good at this stuff. Like, I have created literally tens of millions of dollars in sales for clients and generated hundreds of thousands of leads for clients. And I didn't understand a damn thing he was saying.
No.
And it wasn't like he was outside of my realm that much. I mean, he was more on the B2B side, where I like focusing on the smaller business, entrepreneur size business versus the more corporate side of business. It was just like if I can't understand you, because you're talking in technobabble, you're using jargon, you're using acronyms that, yes, your hot market knows because they're in it already, and they're really just trying to figure out if you are the right vendor for them, then yeah, those people are going to buy. But that's less than 3% of the market at any given time. That means 97% of the people that you could have attracted in, and let's take out the 30% who wouldn't, so we'll call it 67% are left. That's 2/3 of your audience that would have been able to know you will never get to know you because you just made them feel like an idiot, which we don't want to do.
No.
So utilizing the right language, the right conversation, having speak to them like you're talking to your best friend. That's ultimately that's how we like to talk to our audience. Like, I'm going to speak to you like you're my best friend. You don't know what I do necessarily, but you're interested and you want to know because you're my best friend. And so if you come from that place of like, hey, I want to explain this to you in a way that you're easily going to understand. Like, I could talk all day and be like, hey, look, my lead flow engine will help you increase your AOV, get your LTV up, and make sure your C2C goes skyrocketing through the roof. So that way you can spend more on ads and never have to worry about a CTR again. Unless you're an advertiser, you have absolutely no not a clue what I just said. Right. What I just right? What I just said is, hey, I can help you grow your list and turn that list into buying customers so that they'll continue to buy from you over and over and over again, making it so that you can spend more on your ads.
Now that makes sense.
Exactly. So that's the difference.
Yeah, Hawk, I can tell you've put a lot of thought into this. And like you said, you've pulled it apart and put it back together, 5 times or more. There's a lot of work that goes into this, and it's a lot of work that people just don't want to do themselves. So to have something like this available to them is excellent. Tell me, are there any kind of qualifications for the kind of people that you work with? Do they have to have a minimum amount of investment? Do they have to have a product that is, a high ticket offer, or can you sell lower ticket stuff as well?
Yeah. So we've sold courses for $17. Actually, one of our own internal funnels that we have crushes it. So we have an initial lead flow engine that drives traffic. We drive traffic from cold traffic. And out of that, about 10% of people buy a $17 offer. And with the $17 offer, we end up making about $100 day one, like literally from that initial thing, for every person who buys. So basically every 10 leads we get, we make back about $100. So ultimately, if our cost per lead is $10 or less, we are profitable from that very first moment. You can send them to a webinar. Really powerful way to get somebody to opt in first. So something I learned from Justin Livingston, I was at an event and he shared this from stage, and it was brilliant. I loved it. And we implemented it, tested it in proved it from our own system, or I don't know if we proved it, but utilized it with our own system and been able to crush it out of the gate. Instead of sending people direct to a webinar, especially from paid cold traffic. Now, retargeting traffic, people who know you and have some experience with you, is different. I'm talking about like, hey, you're just trying to find random people who would be a fit to opt in. Webinars are one of the hardest things to get people to actually, one, register for, and then two, consume. So if we put a lead flow engine in front of that, we'll end up getting usually about 30 to 40% of the people who download the lead flow engine, a lead magnet, will end up registering for that webinar. So you take the same exact content of the webinar, cut out almost all of it, and put the 3 secrets in the actual lead flow engine, in the lead magnet. And that way they get a taste of it. And then the call to action is, want to learn more, attend our training where we'll go in depth into each of these topics. And boom, you've now captured 3 times more people, or the same number of people on the webinar at a third of the cost. So ultimately you get three times the number of leads, the same number of people on the webinar, and you're now able to grow and scale your company faster. Wow. And then finally is the coaching call, or getting people onto an actual sales call. We're finding on average about 10% of people are booking a sales call after reading through a lead flow engine, and making sure, obviously once it's been, the copy is right and tested and everything. And that is massively changing people's lives in the coaching, because now they no longer have to worry about, hey, am I going to have enough people to have a conversation with that I can sell, versus now it's, how do we qualify them better so that I'm actually on the phone and booking more of the right people versus more people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the results are nothing short of amazing, really, if you're able to develop those numbers. What are some of the people that have been through this saying about the lead flow engine, and how do they get started, basically?
Yeah. So the very first thing, best way to get started is go to leadflowengine.com, and going through that process, you'll actually build your lead magnet idea, come up with your idea, map out what that's going to look like. And from there, you can either choose to take the next step and go to, actually go to the actual training, or you can go through the mini training, invest the $17. You'll get an overview and you get to see me actually building one of these in an hour. While it takes everybody else like 2 to 4 hours, it takes me less than an hour, from literally idea to having a lead magnet, lead funnel, all the emails written, implemented, live, and then driving traffic to it. So we can be literally getting traffic from a brand new idea in under an hour. And I show the exact process that I use to do that. And those are the two different options. So basically, first, you can actually jump on a call with us or attend one of our webinar or master classes to then be able to get the bigger package, or you can go through kind of the self-guided process and kind of figure out the different components in there.
Well, it is all amazing to me that you can take all those components and put it together so quickly and come out with something that just produces such great results for your clients. Lastly, what does it mean to your clients to have something like this? I'm sure it takes a whole heck of a lot of pressure on them to see something working, a system working like this, perfectly like it should do.
Every person who goes through this has just been blown away, whether they're techie or not. Like, maybe people on the technology side who are like, wow, I just don't have to do this anymore. I can't believe it. And there are people who are, completely, figuring out how to log into a funnel builder and make the changes. That's just not in their zone of genius. It's just not in their energy to do. And we don't want them to be doing that. Our philosophy ultimately is, you focus on what makes your business money and is most profitable for your business. And that's generally not marketing and technology. That's where we come in. And those people as well are saying amazing things. Like, I've never experienced a way to actually grow my business and to get a funnel online that I didn't have to log into a funnel builder. We've eliminated the technology. We took the technology out of the technology. That was the goal of this whole process, was to make it so that like you never have to log into a funnel builder ever again. While we provide the software, we have our funnel bot software that allows you to grow your business, and you have all of the technical components. The features of the software are ultimately irrelevant if you don't use it, right? If you're using ClickFunnels, which I'm a ClickFunnels certified partner, I love ClickFunnels still to this day, but we bought our own company we bought a software company that allows us to then provide this as a solution. And like, even with ClickFunnels, I see people all the time saying, hey, I love this, and I see other people successful, but I can't get it to work for myself, or with Kartra, or with whatever. And we'll build it in whatever system. Like, obviously, if you want to work with our system, we would love that. But I want you to work with what works for you. The technology you use is irrelevant at the end of the day. If it doesn't do what you want it to do, change the technology. If it does what you want it to do, and you have somebody who can implement it for you, perfect. Then stay with what you have. And that's, I think, one of the other things that we do very differently is I don't really care what software you use or what system you're on. As long as it's doing the things you want it to do and it's functioning in a way that helps make your life and your business run easier, then let's use it. If not, let's find something that works better, makes it more fun, easier, whatever the case is, whatever is needed there.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, is, taking the stress off the business owner and letting them do what they do naturally. For most of them, it's not marketing and designing funnels. So, this is definitely a lifesaver. Hawk, I learn so much every time that I talk to you. You're always in the cutting edge of, funnels and lead generation. I encourage everybody to go to leadflowengine.com and find out more about how Hawk can help you in your business. Again, Hawk Mikado, thank you very much for being my guest on the show today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And to our listening audience, if you like what you hear, hit that like button and share, and we will see you next time on the show.
You've been listening to the Trust Factor Radio with Neil Howe. To learn about the resources mentioned in the show and to listen to past episodes, go to thetrustfactorradio.com. To get a copy of the book, The Trust Factor, go to thetrustfactorbook.com. If you are ready to act now and build your authority, credibility, and trust, schedule a consultation with Neil at theauthorityarchitect.com.